Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review. This is a Patreon review for Jack Thompson and a different type of request, which is interesting. That's why I've said in the past that if anyone ever wants to either request a review, to be a review of pretty much anything, movie review request, or in this case, pay-per-view request, probably the only thing I'm a bit sketchy on is a stage play. Because that was a request. And I don't know, it's a 2-hour stage play of just two people talking British humor. Could it be a different thing? And he was nice enough. So that review will be coming sometime this month. Of the other thing he suggested, but it's stage plays, not so much. But any movie topic, commentary, stuff like this, or whatever else, or a movie review, you could request it via my PayPal, or if you want to support me on Patreon, the link to that, all that is down below in the info box. If not, I understand. If so, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. But the request for today is the first TNA pay-per-view from 2002. Now, long ago, I don't know if these are still up, I did reviews of some pay-per-views of wrestling. Because I was going to try to go to every pay-per-view of WWF, but then time got away from me, and it seemed like they were not getting a lot of views or a lot of comments. I'm like, I don't know. And, there's so many movies out there. It just, so little time. But yeah, if people request it now, I'll do it. But the thing with TNA, I never watched TNA, which is meant for total nonstop action. Which I don't know where they originally premiered on, but I know they would be on Spike TV. And I think they changed. Aren't they like Global Wrestling? I know the name has changed. It's not called TNA anymore, unless it's not even around. I don't know much about the subject. I'm sure there are people who will correct me, and feel free down below in the info box. But I think long ago someone had sent me a DVD that had a couple matches. I'm like, I'm not sure, but never saw like a full show or a full pay-per-view. And this one, I didn't love it, but it's a lot better than what they have nowadays on WWE. I was going to say F. I keep thinking WWF. That's what I grew up with, but it's WWE. To be fair, I've not seen AEW. I have not seen that. I just haven't had time. I kind of lost a bit interest in wrestling in general. Just before I get in the end of this, to talk a little bit of wrestling. Back in the day, I would have VHS tapes. Either VHS tapes of this is Hulk Hogan, the best of Hulk Hogan, the best of WrestleMania. Or my aunt would send videotapes of a bunch of stuff taped off for us to watch, because growing up we only had like 3-4 channels. And none of them had wrestling on it. It was like 2 versions of CBS, 1 of PBS, and 1 of ABC growing up. Only 4 channels. Why it was 2 CBSs, I don't know, but no NBC, no any other thing. But I would watch those tapes, and they would have people like Razor Ramon, Bret the Hitman Hart, Doink the Clown, Repo Man, like all this other stuff, which many consider to be the lowest point in wrestling. But I'm like, you know what? Part of me would rather watch that than the stuff WWE does nowadays. Not counting what they have to do nowadays with everything is empty arenas, but even before that. The Attitude Era, I did enjoy that period where you go watch Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and Mick Foley, or you go to TNT and WCW with Goldberg and Randy Savage and the NWO and times you flip back and forth. Then WCW died for various reasons. It seemed like the main reason was the higher-ups of TNT changed and they said, we don't want to do wrestling anymore. Fuck it. Which is funny because now I think TNT is doing wrestling with AEW. So go figure. And now that I mentioned WCW, this pay-per-view did remind me of a WCW pay-per-view. I don't know if it's because of the girls that are dancing and what look like stripper cages. The pyro, the setup. Some of the people I recognize from WCW, like Buff Bagwell. Rich Steiner was in WWF with the Steiner brothers, but him seemed like I remember him more from WCW. Anyway, getting to this. These were my points as I'm watching it. And I actually wrote them down just to be a little bit more clear. Wow, this looks like WCW. That was the first thing I wrote. So people come out. The most influential man in wrestling, Ed Ferrara. And I'm like, who the fuck says he's the most influential man in wrestling? Maybe someone smoking dope. And Ed Ferrara... Let me put it this way. I listen to a lot of Jim Cornette, which I don't give a fuck about his politics. But the guy knows wrestling and his rants are pretty damn funny. He kind of reminds me of me and my passion for movies, but his passion for wrestling. He's told some stories about Ed Ferrara, and he reminded me that this is the same motherfucker that on WCW, he made fun of Jim Ross. For those who don't know shit about wrestling, Jim Ross is one of the all-time best commentators. I think now he's commentating on AEW. But he's the guy who commentated back in the day with Stone Cold, Stone Cold, Stone Cold. And the Attitude Era around the late 90s. But sadly he had a bit of sickness of Bell palsy, it's called. Well, WCW, they were in a war with WWF, so they would take pot shots at each other. And Ed Ferrara was the fucking guy who made fun of Jim Ross's Bell palsy by playing a character on WCW that was like Jim Ross, but doing these moves like Oklahoma, 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 making fun of the way he taught, which the guy couldn't help because that was a real life affliction that almost ended his career. And here's the motherfucker making fun of it. And then Jim Cornette told a story about how he went up and spit in the guy's face. Again, I don't always agree with Jim Cornette, but there are times where I do agree and I still always find him entertaining. Funny enough, that's how some people describe me, so go figure. But, yeah, that Ed Ferrara... And then this fucking guy's come out with white dreadlocks. He's a white guy. Well, okay. His dreadlock... He's a white guy, he's got fucking dreadlocks. Are you fucking Jack Black from I Still Know What You Did Last Summer? That fucking reference 4 people will get. The fuck you're a white guy with fucking dreadlocks. The fuck? Maybe he hate you even more. So, I will say the commentating was fine. A lot better than... What's that fucking guy's name? Adam Cole. That guy's fucking horrible on commentating WWF. One of the many reasons why I don't watch that shit now. Adam Cole can stick a pole up his ass. But commentating here was fine. They set up this thing called Gauntlet for the Gold, which I actually like this setup. This would be something I'd be well, I know why they don't, but it's pretty much the Royal Rumble. You have two people every 90 seconds, someone comes out. And then when the last people left, they save it for a match later on. Oh, coming up. Okay, you two are the last two. Now you guys going to fight. And whoever wins is the champion. It can only be by pinfall or submission. And I find that kind of fun. And you know what? They could do that with the Royal Rumble. And be like, okay, there's two of you left. Whoever wins by pinfall submission, you go to WrestleMania. I think that would make the Royal Rumble even more interesting. Like the way they do it here. Like, it's, again, same as the Royal Rumble. But the last two, instead of just, you get thrown out, you two, now that you're tired and that you're beaten up, now you two are going to fight. And whoever wins, in this, they get the championship. But, of course, for WWF, you'd have it, whoever wins, they go off to WrestleMania. Again, if you want to change up the Royal Rumble, I think that'd be an interesting way of doing it. Because you give people a little bit extra showing at the end of your Royal Rumble. Again, I kind of like this idea, the Gauntlet for the Gold, as they call it. The other beginning, the intro, some old school folks, because it's not just TNA, but it was NWA from back in the day. So folks like Harley Race, Dory Funk Jr., Ricky Steamboat, which I love Ricky Steamboat. He's in my top 10 favorite wrestlers. Then Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett, pretty much the guy who owned the company at this point. If it's still around, I'm guessing he still owns it. I don't know. Jeff Jarrett, I will admit, I'm not a fan of him from back in the day when he was with the fucking guitar and the white suit. But this Jeff Jarrett was a fun villain. He was a fun villain, you know, talking shit, making fun of people. He talked shit about Toby Keith, the singer, which I appreciate because I don't like that guy as a singer. And I actually had fun with Jeff Jarrett making fun of the take your angry American ass out of here, and no one wants to hear you. No one wants to hear your stupid songs. That comes later but you know, Jeff Jarrett, surprisingly enough, was one of the highlights of this pay-per-view. And then some of the people that they stepped it up for this pay-per-view, Ken Shamrock, who was from the UFC. Of course, I remember him from WWF. He's here. Didn't even know he was in TNA, I guess, for a little bit. And then fucking Scott Hall. You had Scott Hall in this. Of course, Scott Hall I remember from WCW. Probably remember him the most from as Razor Ramon. And this might have been the time where we were still having problems with alcoholism, but I thought he did a good job. Sorry, for some reason now I'm itching. Sorry about that. But yeah, it was cool to see Scott Hall in there. I like Scott Hall. Cool to see Ken Shamrock in there. So now all this introductions and stuff, we get to the actual matches. I would say there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 matches and then the Battle Royal at the end. Other than the Battle Royal, one match I didn't give a fuck about. The other 3 matches, who won was disappointing and not satisfying. So, I don't know. I know the people you want can't always win, but I'm just saying, of the 4 matches, one I didn't give a fuck about, and the other 3, the people who won, I'm like, no, I wanted the other people to win. So that was a bit disappointing. But the first match, you have 3-on-3. AJ Styles, I mean, he's in WWE now, but yeah, AJ Styles looking very different. Short hair, no facial hair. Low T and Jerry Lynn versus the Flying Elvises. And I'm like, the Flying Elvises is 3 people dressed up like Elvis. I'm like, what the fuck? But I gotta say, this was a fun match. This was, I would say, of the 4, the best match of the night. It was energetic. Yeah, it showed a lot of cool moves. The Flying Elvises, despite their stupid costume, like, name, like, why the fuck you don't call yourself the Flying Elvises? I mean, the stupid gimmick. But these guys could move. I mean, one guy does like a moonsault off a guy's chest. AJ Styles, definitely younger here, so even more quick and agile. He does this like backflip into like a net breaker or like an inverted DDT. It's pretty energetic, fast-paced, fun. The only issues I had was, one, like the Flying Elvises are going to win. Okay. Also, I swear there's a point I'm like, is this a fucking tag team match? I mean, it's 3-on-3. Like, I swear there's a point no one was fucking tagging. Just, oh, these people going. Now these people going. Now these people going. I'm like, ref, are you going to have some fucking, some of that shit? It seemed like the fucking match, people just forgot that's something that's supposed to happen. Like, ding. Don't know. Go watch fucking the pilot tag team with Roddy Piper and Jesse Ventura. Which should have been a show, and I wish it was. Wish it became a show. It was a fun pilot. If you don't know what I mean, type up tag team Roddy Piper. It's free on YouTube. It's a fun 80s pilot where wrestlers become cops. Roddy Piper, Jesse Ventura, tag team. Check it out. But other than that bit, fun, fast-paced, energetic match. The second one, I did not give a fuck. No fucks were given or taken because I'm going to use the term midgets because they use the term midgets, including the little people. They themselves call themselves midgets. Tio versus Hollywood. Thankfully this was short, but even then it was, unless it was as long as a blink, it was too long. I think there were some fuck ups. There's a point where one picks up the other. I swear they like trip. I'm like, that seems like a fuck up, a goof. There's one where one gets on the other and it's like humping the guy's face. One credit I'll give this pay-per-view, the crowd was really into it. It's a good crowd. Even this match, they were kind of, I guess, doing their best, but the crowd was really into this pay-per-view, and that can help in a pay-per-view. It really can. But I didn't give a fuck. Tio wins. Who the fuck is Tio and who gives a shit? Next up, a bunch of women. They come out. Meanwhile, you have some women dancing in cages. Again, reminds you of WCW. Which is not a bad thing. To some it is, not to me. Because I didn't hate WCW like other people did. I liked both WWF and WCW. I mean, I liked the Nitro Girls. WWF doesn't have to copy it. I liked that seemed like a different vibe in the environment. It's just, Eric Bischoff should not have been competing with them. Should have been like, let's do our own thing, and but it was fun for a while, but then one died. So in the long run, didn't help. But I guess a lot of these girls were in ECW. It's about how next week there's going to be a big cat fight, and whoever wins is Miss TNA. I think that's one, now that I think about it, that's one thing that whoever came up with it fucked up. Calling it TNA was a big mistake. Because no matter, I know it's total nonstop action, but when you say it, people go TNA, thus, you can only get so far because people are not going to take you seriously. Because if you try to promote it, TNA, I'm not going to say TNA. Okay, say Total Nonstop Action. What TNA? Like, people don't look down. People already look down on wrestling. When it's called TNA, they don't look down it even more. Like, they didn't find saying WWF, WWE, WCW, AEW, but TNA, like, the only thing worse would be calling it STD. Like a certain fucking Star Trek show. Or FUK. Or HIV. I mean, there are worse ones that you could call it, but still, TNA is like, you don't have a limit. Just, people like, oh, whatever, that's a stupid thing. Where's the real company at? So that was a big mistake they did. But, yeah, I guess I didn't see it, but I guess next week they had some big cat fight, Miss TNA, whatever. The third match was the Johnsons versus James Storm and Psychosis. Now, this was a meh match. What bothered me about it was the fucking Johnsons. First off, the commentary, I think Ed Ferrara kept making, of course, obvious Johnson jokes. Dick jokes. But the way they looked. You ever seen the Michelin Man? Look up the Michelin Man on Google. Michelin, Michelin, I believe. Type of Michelin Man. Or try to find the commercials of the Michelin Man. If he had a brother, the two of them were in this match. Because that's who were fighting James Storm and Psychosis. And you don't blame me. This is for free on YouTube. I'll try to put the link down below to the pay-per-view. Because it's on YouTube. Look in the info box. They look like someone just put giant condoms all over them. And like peach mask and like peach light human skin look, colored fabric on their I mean, what is this shit? It's like they put a giant condom and then put eye holes. Fucking Michelin Man. So that just took me out of the movie. Took me out of the match because I couldn't take it seriously. James Storm, Psychosis, they were there, but they lose. I want them to win just because I didn't want the fucking Michelin brothers. But they won, the Johnsons. I'm like, do they really expect this to be a big tag team with the way they fucking look? They look almost as bad as what the fuck was that back in the day? The polka dots, or whatever the fuck they were called. The Dean Dots, Dean Bats, Dean Dons. That's what it's, Dean Dons. Almost as bad as them, the Dean Dons. But Johnsons win. Then, of course, the South. We got some NASCAR guys, NASCAR stars. I don't watch NASCAR, so I didn't give a fuck about any of these guys. But the NASCARs come out, and the guy I liked was the bad guy, R-Truth. But here he's called K-Crush. So in TNA he was K-Crush, and then he went to WWF, WWE, and it was R-Truth. I liked R-Truth, but man, this segment was awkward and fuck. Because this was fairly fucking racist. Because, oh, well, he's a black guy, so of course he doesn't like NASCAR. And then a wrestler comes out, Brian Christopher, which I know he's no longer with us. Brian Christopher was the son of Jerry Lawler. He was in WWE as well. Sadly, I think he passed away from suicide. But yeah, He comes out, beats up R-Truth, and just saying lines like, "We don't want your kind here." And I'm like, the fuck do you mean your kind? I mean, WWE had a lot of moments where it's like, throughout the years, that's fairly racist and cringy. You didn't have to do that with your first pay-per-view of TNA. So yeah, I just thought that was a bit like awkward. I like R-Truth. Well, I'm sorry, Cade Crush. But yeah, this is awkward. Really cringy. So you get the fourth match, the Dupps, D-U-P-P-S. I thought they said the Dumps, but the Dupps. Pretty much two rednecks, like hillbilly rednecks. Not to the point of the Godwins from the 90s and WWE, but still like two rednecks, spitting, chew, fighting Christian York and Joey Matthews, who I think is Joey Mercury, but here is Joey Matthews. Decent match, some alright move sets, but a really lame ending. Like, oh, it's over now, and again, the dupes, the guy, people I didn't want to win, they're the ones who won. It was just decent match, lame ending, some alright moves. It was there. So, I mean, the pay-per-view is like an hour and 40-some minutes, and nowadays, shit would be like 3, 4, 5, 7 hours, but the fact it's less than 2 hours is nice. Having people like, hey, Ricky Steamboat appears. Jeff Jarrett, fun bad guy. He does a thing where Toby Keith is singing. I'm like, great. This guy, I'm not a fan of him. Country music star. But then Jeff Jarrett stops him, like, yay! And fucking pushes him. Stops him from saying, he's like, take your angry American ass out of here. No one wants to hear you. No one wants to hear you, this stupid song. And, like, the crowd is booing him like they're supposed to because Jeff Jarrett's the bad guy. But I'm like, yay, Jeff Jarrett. I can't believe you made me root for Jeff Jarrett. Holy shit. The impossible has happened. So the Battle Royal starts. And it's better than some of the recent Royal Rumbles I've seen. I didn't see the new one, but like the ones with Daniel Bryan fucking him over and all those. This Battle Royal was better than them. I mean, Jeff Jarrett, you got Buff Bagwell, Conan, Rich Steiner was in there. This young guy that I believe his name is Abyss in TNA. Again, as a guy that doesn't know much about TNA. They were really pushing this big guy called Malice. I'm like, who is this guy Malice? He's doing these choke slams. Big guy. Intimidating guy. Whatever happened to him? And it's sadly, from what I understand, like a year after this pay-per-view, the guy died. I don't know how. I don't even know his real name, but his name in the ring was Malice. And they were really pushing him. Scott Hall gets in there. And, I like Battle Royals. I liked a lot of the older Royal Rumbles. Sadly, I don't have all of them, but I liked a lot of them. It's a fun gimmick. There, of course, going to be slow spots. But it's always nice to see, like, who's going to come out next and what are they going to do and who's going to get thrown out next. They're fun endeavors, the Battle Royal. So, unless they truly fuck up, like they have for the past couple years. Again, I didn't see the new one. I actually heard it's really good. This past one. But, the couple before that, I'm like, But, yeah, for the most part, I like a Battle Royal. And this was, fun. And the two people that was last was Ken Shamrock and this Malice guy. And then Ken Shamrock won. which is cool because I like Ken Shamrock. So at least, ends on a nice pop. The crowd popped. Ends, on a nice note. So yeah, I mean, overall, some stinkers. The worst part was the fucking Little People match. T.O. versus Hollywood, no fucks were given. The Johnsons, the Michelin Men, the two giant condoms with eye holes. But at the end of the day, it's less than 2 hours. I like the WCW look of it. Jeff Jarrett, I actually liked him as a villain, as a heel. Ken Shamrock won. Fun little battle royal. The first match with AJ Styles, fun, energetic. I just wish the other people, AJ Styles' team, won. Cool to see Ricky Steamboat. He actually refereed the last match when it was between Ken Shamrock and Malice. Cool to have Ricky Steamboat be the referee in that. Nice to see Scott Hall and Rick Steiner and Conan in the Battle Royal. So yeah, overall, I didn't love it, but I liked it for the most part. So, yeah, it was an easy sit. So thank you, Jack Thompson, for the unique request, but very interesting request. If anyone wants to request more of that through my PayPal or my Patreon or similar stuff, again, not stage plays, because that's was a bit tough. Hey, these two people talking for 2 hours, and it's not Kevin Smith Clerks. There's not much for me to say because I can't talk about the music, can't talk about the direction. That's hard, but pretty much anything else. And the PayPal, Patreon links down below. Thank you once again, Jack Thompson. Thank you everyone for watching. Take care. Sorry it went on for so long, but wanted to go in depth as I could. Oh yeah, the cringiest part was the racist "your kind" thing with R-Truth. Like, that was the worst part. And then the Little People. See, I almost wanted to get that out of my mind, but anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.